Hello, I'm Sarah Schmidt and I'm here to give you my final course presentation from 610 Evaluation of Research. During this course we chose a topic of interest. My topic of interest was the influences of desistance from crime. So I wanted to know what kind of things are influencing offenders or people committing crimes to stop committing crimes or commit crimes less often. And so I chose 3 articles to evaluate for this topic. One was mixed methods, one was qualitative, and one was quantitative. These articles really helped me understand desistance from crime more clearly, and they each have kind of a different view on what can be the influence of desistance from crime. Something that was a common thread through all these articles was that successful desistance really depends on support and the type of support given to these people that have either gotten out of prison or of jail or keep reoffending for committing crimes. And I found that the support from others that understand their experiences and what they went through in the criminal justice system or just through committing those crimes is what makes it so successful. So peer mentors, family members, and friends all understanding the experience and supporting them in a positive way can actually help change the behaviors and feelings towards the self and towards crime. So they'll start to actually view themselves as separate from crime, and they're able to think of life in a positive way that doesn't have to do with crime. So one really interesting article was the quantitative article that I took a look at, and that was really focused on identity change. And so there's lots of factors that influence desistance from crime. There is a theory that identity change is a huge influence in desistance, and this article found, based on that theory, that the more connections and pro-social identity tendencies someone has, the less likely they are to reoffend and to keep committing those crimes. And that's because those social influences are actually very positive and they begin to see themselves in a new light based on what their connections are to these people and the support that they're given. But I noticed in this article that the sample selection was based on a middle class set of individuals. So I wondered what would happen if they did the same study or a similar study on a set of individuals that was not within middle class and maybe has been dealing with poverty. So I did have those wonderings, but overall I think that it was very insightful to actually read this article and evaluate it. I think the things that I want to take away from this and use in the future would be supporting troubled youth through times of maybe just struggle, not necessarily committing crimes. I don't think I'll ever be able to understand that with them, but I can definitely support them with what I've learned from these articles. Right now, I'm not in a position to do that effectively, but I'm hoping in the future I'll have a position in which I can actually apply restorative practices effectively and efficiently with these specific types of support that I know I can give, now that I've learned a little more about it. I also want to start approaching issues with reoffenders differently. So instead of focusing on the deeds and reminding them of the consequences, I'd want to make sure I try to focus on the needs of that offender and what we can do to actually help them move forward in life, instead of constantly reminding them of what they've done and what will happen if they keep doing that. So the needs are much more important. While I was reading and evaluating these articles, I did have some challenges. One of my challenges was finding mixed methods research. For me, that was really difficult. It was hard to figure out the keywords in the article, but also to use when I'm searching the database that suggests mixed methods research. And so I had a hard time finding the articles. After contacting Professor Rosenblatt, I actually had a lot more options because she was able to help me out with that and give me some as examples. But after that, after I actually had articles, I was a little confused about the data collection methods because I know that it's both qualitative and quantitative, but sometimes it seems like it was weighed more heavily towards one side. So I was a little bit more confused when I was searching for those articles just to figure out what it actually was. Finally, using the database to find PDFs was pretty difficult when it came to mixed methods research because anything everything I clicked on didn't have a PDF. And so that's actually where Professor Rosenblatt helped me a lot. She gave me a lot of options with PDFs, and I was able to see how to actually use those. When I was doing my quantitative research, understanding it was pretty hard. So that was my second challenge, was really understanding what was going on in my quantitative articles. I'm just not really a heavy numbers person, so I had a hard time understanding and grasping some of those concepts in the data collection methods, reading the data and finding where their results are, and then actually writing my evaluation was pretty difficult for me as well, until I had really gone through carefully and taking a lot of time to go through how to evaluate it step by step. As far as data collection goes, it was confusing when it wasn't stated, because I couldn't really tell what was going on or how they got their data, and it just didn't seem very reliable, so I was a little bit hesitant about choosing certain articles or evaluating them. When it came to reading the data, it was kind of confusing just because of all the formulas included, all the different graphs, and all the different probabilities in certain studies. It was very difficult for me to grasp and understand all at once. That's why it became difficult to articulate the evaluation in general. Even though it was really challenging, there was a lot of value that came from doing the evaluations. So even after all that evaluating, I had a lot more confidence in finding, understanding, and using research to support my own ideas. I was able to take in what I knew and use that to help me support my opinions or support my thoughts. And I'm thinking that later on that's going to be very helpful if I'm ever trying to start new programs or making suggestions for change at maybe a future school district or any kind of area where there's some administration where I might have to kind of propose a change. I think being able to find the research and evaluate for reliability, transferability, all those great things will really help me in forming my own arguments. Something that was also very important for me was being able to be critical in effective ways, because using criteria is a lot more effective than trying to look for holes in the hypothesis or the argument of the researchers. So I'm really glad that I can be more academic about it instead of just trying to figure it out as I go. As I said, I can apply these evaluation skills to my future positions in my professional life just by making sure I can improve my own studies or proposals on different topics or different things that I'm suggesting for change. But overall, the learning process that I experienced in this course really helped me improve my own trustworthiness, reliability, transferability, all those things when I'm communicating or using information. So I know how to make sure that I'm heard and understood in a much more clear way than I had before. And finally, I have some resources for the pictures that I had in my presentation. Thank you so much for watching my final course presentation.